Welcome back to day 2, Rascal. So, when I thought of Rascal, I immediately thought of a cute, chubby little kid that has food all over their face, and it's usually spaghetti or something that's like perfect for splatter, like pudding or something. So, I thought of ice cream. So then I was like, okay, under the ocean, sea cream. So I'm like, how am I gonna do this? Okay, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a little boy because I'm striving to create more characters that are not just female. And so I'm like, okay, a boy and a child, so this is good. So then I sketched him and I loved his little face so much, and I was so thankful that I was able to get a pretty accurate sketch that matched my sketchbook onto this sheet of paper for the final painting, because I don't have a light box and I wasn't going to be able to transfer the paper. I wasn't going to be doing all the shading of the back of the paper and pressing it and tracing it and all that. It wasn't worth it for me. So I decided on the color scheme. I wanted it to be very bright. I wanted to do yellows and oranges, something in kind of like a sunrise family. And so I have just wet the whole paper or the whole background, and I've put in some yellow. And you see where it's already darker on the bottom. So where I know there's going to be land, I just start making landmarks. So lines that would form the land, and knowing that it's sand, there's little creatures underneath, so they rumple some of the sand, and there's just going to be divots in the sand. So I use my big fluffy brush, a size 12, to create those. So while the paper is wet, and so it just leaves color, and I don't even have to bother softening the edges. I really just like the effects that the water creates when you just swipe some color, and I'm working on keeping those effects, just being more relaxed with watercolor and just playing. So I wanted him to have green hair. I don't or I haven't as of yet done a mermaid or a sea fairy with just any colored skin that we actually see in real life, because I like to keep it fun and like sea creatures, and I just show diversity by the features I create. So I didn't know what color I wanted him to be yet. I didn't want him to be green because the mermaid to the side of him was already green. So I just decided I'll think about it later and I'll move along. So I have a stingray there. So I have painted in some blue, and I'm having it fade towards the tail because I liked that gradient effect. So I'm not worrying about painting all of it blue. Then I'm just adding in some seagrass. I love sea kelp. It's so beautiful and it's so fun to create. So I just swiped my brush through some color. I tend to use the same colors. This one is kind of a teal, so like a more bluish emerald type of green, which I really love. I'm doing this color first. With watercolor, depending on what it is, items like this I will do the darker color first because it's going to fade. It's not going to be too saturated, and then I will come over with the light color and put it on top, so it gives the item dimension because of the dual color tones. So I was already loving how bright and happy this piece was. See, I'm using my pastel palette because it has all these wonderful colors like that orange on the side. So I decided I wanted to make him purple. That would be a cool complementing tone, or rather a lavender shade. But when I placed the lavender, I thought, too purpley. It needs to be more pink. So I made it more of a light pink with a little bit of lavender undertones, because the pink and the orange, they just go nicely together. And also I was like, I don't want to make him purple with green hair because it reminded me of Joker, like the purple suit and green hair, which Joker is one of my absolute favorite villains, but that's not what I was going for. Alright, enjoy a bit of this without my voice. So I just finished a second layer on his hair to brighten that green, because we know the first layers are gonna be light, and then here I am using that same bright green color with probably a little yellow mixed in to go over the sea kelp. So how I was telling you, you lay down the black or the darker color first, so then you have that nice effect. It looks like a highlight now with lighting. Here's this really fun part. I'm using a bright pink color that is actually gouache, and it's my absolute favorite because I love that highlighter pink, and so I was so excited to find it in the paint. So I use this in all of my watercolors. And so I wanted an ice cream truck, and so I was thinking of how I could do this in the sea, the ocean, and I came up with a fish, and I love stingrays. And then I thought of a stingray would be a fun idea because there's those beautiful blue ones that are spotted with white spots. I was like, oh, the ice cream could be upside down and it's like on the spot. And so it just cruises on by and the kids just pluck an ice cream off. I love stingrays. They're so sweet. Excuse me. So social. They're so soft. Oh my gosh. Oh, those were all S's. Stingrays are soft, social, and sweet. True. Okay. I should put my stingray video in here. Okay, so I need to focus, but side note, my boyfriend took some video of me petting stingrays, or waiting to pet them at the aquarium in Florida, and I get so excited when I finally get to the last one. I get so sad when I don't get to touch them. Anyway, so I've moved the video. Unfortunately, you can't see everything in this angle. Hopefully I'll fix it soon, but I'm just brightening up some spots. I added that beautiful like orange yellow tone to the tail to brighten it up and make it look more like a goldfish tone. And then I added some purple to the ice cream cones. I wasn't sure what other colors I was going to go for, but a way to tie in the purple was to bring in some purple seagrass. And I just love the different colors under the sea. And so I never just do green grass. I'm like, I want to do all the colors because I'm certain there's every color in the rainbow in sea kelp. And if not, well, we're going to create it here. And it just looks so beautiful and romantic, and it just blends in with his skin and his ice cream. I did the ice cream spots on him as purple since I didn't make him purple after all. I found another way to bring it in. And then I decided yellow ice cream would be cool because it would bring some of the brightness from his hair, the Rascal's hair, and from the brightness of the sand. It would bring it upwards, and so it's balanced, so it's bright in both areas. And then I'm just adding in some blue for bubbles. So whenever I make bubbles, I always feel like when I see a bubble in real life, it always is iridescent. So that means it's white, clear, and I always see a tinge of light blue and light pink. Those are the colors that stick with me. So when I make bubbles, I'm drawing what I see. So that's what I see. So I always do a circle with whatever color pencil, or maybe it's with a white ink pen, and then I use some light blue and some pink. So I'll do this with Copic markers. I'll do it here with watercolor. Sometimes you can use a gel pen. I tend to use my white gel pen over it once it's dried because it pops to have that white highlight on it. I love drawing bubbles. Anything transparent is really fun because it's a challenge to figure out how to make it look reflective in 3D. Here I'm throwing in some more of that beautiful bright yellow color, a little more yellow than the sand at the bottom. That has a tiny bit of orange tint to it, a tan. And so I'm throwing that yellow in the background just to brighten it up, and so that you can see that that is the first layer of sand, because we have 3 levels of sand to bring depth to the picture. So I wanted to highlight that more. And where there's highlights, it's usually where it's the darkest point on the other side. So I like to think of it as a line. If you have a line, on one side it's going to be your darkest, and on the other side of that line it's going to be your brightest. So that's how I think of it. So since I have this beautiful yellow highlight, then that means I need to have a darker color. So I have the green right there because that pops out. And it's dark. It would be darker at the base of something. So since I have sea kelp, I need to have a base. And so I'm going to think, what's a dark color? Green. And I can throw a little bit of the purple into that green shade to make it a darker color, and then also to reflect both of the colors that it's a shadow to. So these are just questions I think about. I never took a color theory class, course, or anything like that. These are just things I've noted. So just sharing my insights. But taking a color theory class would probably be awesome. Probably be cool to think of a color wheel. But I don't know. I always like to just figure things out for myself and to figure out what colors I think go together. If you know what goes together, then I feel like you might gravitate towards that more instead of thinking outside of the box. I don't know. So now I'm like, okay, I really love the blue and the stingray. I want to bring in some dark blue, some more of that, because I love blue. I love like Superman blue, like the cobalt blue. So this is like a variant of that, a shade darker, almost like a midnight cobalt, I'll say. There's probably a name. It's probably like ultramarine blue or something. And so I'm making the ice cream cones that color. Excuse me. So I get to throw some blue in there since I don't have blue water, and then it also brings in out the blue in the stingray. And then so I also made one of the starfish on the bottom left-hand side blue. And then I threw in some angelfish at the bottom. I just love angelfish. I want to look up fish and look at their anatomical design because God made them so beautiful. And I don't know how fish are, so I just always do like a triangle with a wavy tail for an angelfish, because the thing of angelfish, I feel like they're natural, like ribbon dancers of the sea. So, excuse me, I have allergies. Yeah, and so that's how I draw them, and it's fun and it's abstract, but I want to see how they are actually, what their actual silhouette is, so then I can play off of that. So see, it's like with color, I'm like, I'll figure it out on my own, but I have an eye for color, so maybe that's why I'm okay with it. But for the animal, it's like I need to know its correct shape, so then I can play with warping the shape. So for that, I do believe certain things you do need the foundation in order to, quote, break the rules. But we are all different, so you just gotta do what works for you. Now I'm coming back in with that pink color pencil. This is my Prismacolor color pencil. It is not a watercolor pencil, it's just a Prismacolor colored pencil. And let me read you the exact thing it says. Prismacolors color pencils 24. The Prismacolor Premier. So it comes in this awesome tin, and it says 24 brilliant colors, and they are brilliant, as you can see. It goes over this watercolor so beautifully, so brightly. I wouldn't have expected this, and I always wanted to use colored pencil with watercolor, but I didn't think it would look good. I didn't think it would be bright, and so I never did. And then I've been watching Anita Gadzinska, I believe it is. Gadzinska. Okay. You gotta Google her, okay? She's on YouTube. She's great. So she uses colored pencils over her watercolors. And I was like, oh, that looks really good. So then I tried it. And if you have the right color pencil, I think that also plays an important role. These are great color pencils. So I always ask for color pencils and art supplies for Christmas and my birthday because they're expensive. So, or you can just buy a few at a time. So this is great because now I'm outlining the Rascal's hair and features so you can see more clearly. It's kind of hard to see on the camera because I don't have an outline aside from the light pastel pencil. So I will play with some light to see if I can make that better, because you need to be able to see what I'm talking about. So just putting a little shading on the tail so it kind of looks like scales, a little texture. The idea of scales like creeps me out, so I never draw them. It just reminds me of like flaky skin. Ugh. Okay. So I usually just like them smooth, but like a little texture. And now this is one of my favorite pens. It's a milky pen and it's like glitter gold. And so I use this to show that, like, for bubbles and just to add some sparkle to the picture and to show that there's like light coming down. And I love it because I don't have to use glue or anything. The only thing I wish is that it was clear, because you can see in the pen that it's that gold color. So a little bit of yellow does come off on the paper. So if you put that over a white area, unfortunately a little bit of that shows. But it's worth it to me for everything else I get from it. I like that sparkle it creates. And if you, right away, if you just wipe your finger over the sparkle, you can kind of erase that yellow and just have the sparkle disperse. So that's something I do. Now I'm coming in with my gel pen. It works so well when it works. I buy them off of Amazon, and I feel like one batch I got just didn't work as well as the other. But these are the Uni-ball signo pens. So SIGNO. I'll list everything in my comments section, the description. But it's the pigment ink in white. So I love these. This is what I use for everything. So thank you so much for watching, friends. Make sure to visit my site and see what other artwork I'm up to and I have up there for sale and just for perusing. And also make sure to check out my other videos. Check out Day 1 Extravagant, the other painting pictured here. Have a blessed day, my friends. Bye-bye.
I need to touch one.
Okay, this is my pen. They're so far down.
I know, I need a stool.
I got it. It's so soft.